I think that you can't get to know somebody off a 10-second, 15-second Instagram reel. Quick clips that everything's just like edited fast, and then you get a dopamine hit and you want to scroll more. I'm just kind of like burnt out on that. My name is Colleen Quigley. I'm an Olympian, a national champion, and even a world record holder. In 2024, I decided to take on a new type of challenge. And in 2025, we launched Meridia. Meridia is a professional running team based in Colorado. It's founded by athletes for athletes, and we do things a little bit differently around here. In this video, I'm going to answer some of the frequently asked questions about Meridia, why we do things the way that we do them, where the word Meridia even comes from. I'll even answer some questions about the financial structure of our team, how we select new teammates, and where I see the vision of Meridia going in the next few years. There's a lot to go over, so let's get into it. Typically, athletes don't found teams at all. I don't know that there's any athlete that does that. I think it usually comes from a brand or a coach. When I first went pro, I joined a team. I signed a contract and joined the Bowerman Track Club in Portland. And everything was, I just inserted myself into a system. Everything was set up. I was 23 years old. And it was just like, boop, 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 this is what you do. 1 year later, I went to the Olympics. And then 4 or 5 years after that, I found myself kind of like learning more about the pro world and understanding more about marketing and branding. And like I created a website for myself and I started posting on Instagram all the time. And my teammates thought I was crazy. I started to build a brand around steeplechase. And I was like, okay, like this is fun. People are interacting, like engaging. I go to races and like people are excited to see me. They have signs with my name on them. They're wearing their hair in braids. And then at some point I realized, I think it was really when I left that team, I realized that we had created this brand also around the Bowerman babes. But when I left, I had to leave it behind. And I thought like, okay, I'm just gonna lean into growing steeplechase more and I'm just my own brand now. But then I just realized how lonely that is. Like being an individual athlete in an individual sport without a team just sucks. In the summer of 2024, didn't make the Olympics, feeling pretty bad about myself. If I want to stay in the sport, which I decided that I did, what are you gonna do to like change it? Because I couldn't fathom doing another 4 years like the way that I had been doing it. So at that point, I did something really important and I started making a Google spreadsheet of all the athletes that I knew, was friends with, knew of. I was focusing on people who I knew had untapped potential. And I just started asking them questions about their setup and it's a big Google sheet trying to figure out market research. What are other people out there doing? What do they need? What do they think? What do they like about their setup? What do they not like? And I realized there were some through lines. One of the biggest ones was bad coaching. One thing I heard a ton was that coaches were telling athletes that if they didn't perform the way that they were supposed to or expected to, that it was always put back on the athlete. It was always that she was not meeting the expectations of the coach. And I was talking to all female athletes and I just couldn't disagree with that entire sentiment more. I just feel like I know these women, I know myself, and I can tell you it's not because we're not trying. It's because we are trying too hard and we want it too bad and we're willing to do too much and push ourselves too far to the point of overtraining, burnout, and injury. And I also heard this like same thing of like, I want to sign with this brand, but they want me to go to this team and I don't want to work with that coach or I don't want to live in that place. And so after doing all that market research, I thought, how do we like fix this? A couple different people started talking about what if you don't have a head coach? And at first I was like, what? I think that's a lot of people's initial response when we announced the team. We were like, we don't have a coach. And they were like, what? How does the team not have a coach? But I was like, yeah, well, we've made our own definition of a team. And our definition, the athletes choose their own coach. Then we can recruit athletes who want to be a part of this team because they want to be a part of the community, not because they want to work with a particular coach. And then they make the two most important decisions of their career. Who's going to coach you and what are you going to put on your body and on your feet? Make those two decisions separate from the team. We don't want the team to have anything to do with those decisions because we feel like those are so personal, and you should be able to change those decisions as you go throughout your career. And that shouldn't mean now you can't train with these people anymore. Like if you don't want to wear that brand or you want to work with a different coach, but you still want to train with your best friends, like what's wrong with that? And so one thing that got me really excited about this was like, since we're not relying on a brand or on a coach, there's nothing to stop another group of like-minded athletes somewhere else in the country from doing the same thing. I'm not here to like gatekeep the blueprint. I don't have the freaking blueprint anyway, so like we're all just trying to figure out how to best serve the athlete. So that became our tagline, actually, like we make our own. We're not meant to wait for a lane, we make our own. The naming process, so Meridia. Meridia is a made-up word. We wanted a word that you don't know what it is right away. So Meridia comes from the word meridian, which has a definition of a high point or a peak or an apex, the top of something is a meridian. And then we chopped off the letter N to form Meridia because we felt like it was made it sound more feminine. And it also sounds like, again, made up word, but it sounds like it could be the plural form of meridian. So if you have like a lot of peaks, a lot of high points, we didn't want to look like any other like existing team. I just wanted something that felt bright and vibrant and like high energy and exciting. First of all, it was a really big investment to like hire a creative agency to like make our brand. And it was one of the most important things that I did in the beginning, like most important decision I made to spend the money on that. From my perspective, from what I've seen from the last 10 years, our sport and kind of the environment of what the athletes are in every day, from their agents and coaches and brands, like it's a high pressure situation. Not to mention the pressure the athletes are putting on themselves. And so the goal with the team is to never to add to that pressure and make them feel like they have more people who are like, counting on them to like win races. Our model of how we do things and our brand and our vibe is all much more lighthearted than that. And we see the value of the athlete outside of, being on the podium, outside of their performance. That's great, and we always celebrate that. But I really strongly feel, and I think all the brands that we want to align with are going to see the value in like this whole picture and who they are as a human, as an athlete. We have a profit sharing program where we set this up from day one. We talked about it as a team of like, how do we do this? Like if the team makes money, what do we do with it? And so what we came up with was this 50-50 split. If we make $10 from a sponsor, $5 would go to the Meridia pool, like the expenses of the team. So to hire content creators, to pay for housing at USA's, if we were going to put on a team holiday party, for example, any kind of funds that everyone's benefiting from, the team can pay for things like that. And then the other $5, the other half would go to the athlete pool. And that gets split into equal parts between the athletes who are on the team at that time. My vision for the team is that the team could focus on brands and categories like travel, wellness, beauty, thinking like finance, tech, any kind of bigger companies that are in categories that you just don't usually see track and field athletes partnering with. But I think our collective value as a group is really interesting. Instead of just like picking one athlete to tell their story, like we have this group of athletes and we're telling all of their stories and you get access to all of them, which is additive to the athlete because they probably weren't going to do that on their own with that brand. And it doesn't interfere with any partnerships that they're going to have. So we're not saying, no, you can't go work with Oakley because Colleen works with Roca, and so the team is sponsored by Roca. Realizing that there's a huge opportunity here for a brand who's never had the chance to participate in track and field and invest in track and field because of the way the teams are set up. I think bringing more brands into our sport and bringing, kind of more visibility to our sport is good for everybody, the athletes, the brands. The biggest learning from this year was like, okay, I went pro in 2015. I've been pro for 10 years. Now I have rates and I'm very clear on my value, and like this is what I do for one-off posting, this is what I do for a 3-month, 6-month, 12-month partnership. I have multi-year deals with almost all of my partners. I'm adamant that like we need to create value to present to a brand something that we feel so confident that this is who we are, this is what we can offer. And so when we launched Meridia, we started with Instagram and a newsletter. Like that's what I know, and a website. That's what I know, and I feel comfortable like, you know, kind of launching with that. But I always had in the back of my mind what other ways that we could expand and grow. So now we're on Threads and we're launching YouTube. I think that you can't get to know somebody off a 10-second, 15-second Instagram reel. I'm just kind of like burnt out on that, to be honest. I want to do more storytelling. I think these athletes' stories need more space to like expand. And now I'm like, as we're talking, like Annie and I go for an hour run and yap about her story. And I'm like, now we have to edit this down to less than 10 minutes. Like there's so much good stuff in there. Hoping to kind of create a whole like holistic group of ways that we show up as a brand and as a team. So we're like 6 months in now. There's been so many changes already. I think that was one thing a lot of people told me early on was like, this thing is gonna morph and change in ways that you can't even expect. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure. And then it was like, oh, this is what they meant. I think just like learning a ton about myself, about letting the team and letting the concept of the team, you know, kind of come alive and like come out of its shell in the most natural way that we can. And I think at this stage, or like when you're building something that is different, you just have to be able to try and fail and try again. I hate failing, so that's hard. I think I'm getting better at like figuring out, oh, okay, it's not, and reframing it, right? It's not failing, it's just trying and learning and growing and then trying again, but it's hard. I kind of see myself as like a team captain or like a player coach, where I'm older than anyone else on the team. I'm 33, and so I have more experience. I've made, you know, more teams than anyone else on the team, so I have more. I just have gotten more reps in. You know, I know more about competing internationally, and so I feel like I have an opportunity to, you know, to be kind of like that big sister to the team. I don't want it to feel like it's my team and like they're on my team and they're just like passive participants of the team. I want them all the athletes to be active participants and feel like they have ownership over what's going on. One of the big things about our team is you have to be okay with like being on camera. You know, you have to be okay being in the arena. And if, you know, that means that people see the good and the bad and like the whole story. And yeah, all of our athletes I think are really open and vulnerable in that way. I think they really see the value in like letting people in. They can see that like, no, I went through hell and back to be able to get to this point, and I had this whatever personal thing, and then, you know, I had to fire my coach, or I came from D3, or I had an eating disorder. It takes so much perseverance and so much resilience. I'm so confident in where we're going and what we're doing that then the athlete self-selects to be a part of that. Anyone wants to join our team, we have to take a collective vote and they have to have a super majority say yes on that person to join the team. What I think is really interesting is what's to stop us from adding, first of all, athletes of any gender, and then we can also have athletes who aren't necessarily running the 800, 1500 steeplechase 5K on the track. Like, I think a lot of these groups, because of the coach's specialty, they end up with a group of athletes who do those events, or they do, you know, this is like a 3K, 5K, 10K group, or this is a sprints group. But since we're just athletes, we train together, so we do kind of want to overlap on stuff. But we could have athletes who are racing trails, we could have athletes who are racing roads, we could have triathletes who are looking to do run workouts with us on our run days. I think that's our next phase, like our next step of growth, in like that type of, like what type of athlete we're gonna add. Well, that was a lot of information, and we actually had to cut a bunch of stuff. As you can tell, I'm a talker. But it's because I'm really passionate about what we're doing with Meridia. I love telling these athlete stories and giving you guys a sneak peek into all the work that goes in behind the scenes to when they have an amazing day, or if something goes wrong, you know the story behind that, and it just makes everything mean more. I hope you can relate that to your own life and take inspiration from it. Thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot to us. Be sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. You can also follow along with us on Instagram. We are at Team Meridia. And then we also have a weekly newsletter on Substack called Meridia Mondays. So you can follow along with the team any way that you like. We really appreciate it. And see you soon.
House tour. music video now.
That's where Meridia came in, because it was like, I want the sense of community, just to bounce ideas off of, just to have fun with, hang out with.
Because we don't want to use energy, we want minimum effective dose. That is massively important with performance-based athletes.